Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Entitled WNBA players are going to shut down the league permanently, thinking that Unrivaled is going to take its place and be better, and they are going to be absolutely shocked when the United States no longer has a women's professional basketball league. Let's dig into this. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Let's go. New WNBA CBA by October 31st. Deadline appears increasingly unlikely. If people are wondering why that is the deadline besides the CBA expiring, we also do not forget have two new expansion teams. There need to be a list of protected players, and there needs to be an expansion draft, and all that was done, I believe, in December of last year before we got into free agency starting in January. So yes, it is. Is it possible that they will have start the season on time if the agreement is not made by October 31st? Absolutely. They can cram stuff in, but the longer it goes past October 31st, the more of a pain in the butt it becomes for the entire league, and the more likely that at the very least they don't start the season on time and they don't have a full season. That is another option. Now I know the WNBA season is very short as it is, but like other leagues have done, they could end up having a shortened season. Maybe they don't get started on time and they end up playing a 25 game season, something to salvage a season and not shut down completely, because that would be an absolute disaster for the WNBA. Now, what it says here is the union, of course, has cited that the league's lack of urgency, and they question if it was just running out the clock on negotiations. So here is the thing about that. The league has made multiple offers, and I'm not saying that the players should accept them, but I have not heard anything from the players. And again, they don't have to put it out publicly. I'm just going by what I'm seeing. And then if the union is going to say this, if the players are going to say this, and we know this, then we've got to hear something else if you're going to fight that PR battle. Because we know that the league came up with an offer that tripled, quadrupled current salaries, and the players not only rejected it, they acted insulted. They acted insulted by it because apparently there was not enough in the revenue share. But again, revenue share, it cannot, they want it to be like the NBA. And I don't mean in dollar numbers, but in percentages. But again, when you have a league like the WNBA that doesn't do anywhere in the same universe the revenue of the NBA, yet you have these fixed costs, they simply cannot have a 50% revenue share with the players. That is not going to work. Again, the league in the past has had revenue share for merch. Like I know Kelsey Plum talked about never getting anything in terms of merchandise sales and stuff, but there was revenue share in the current, still the current CBA, but it never kicked in. It had to get to a certain amount before it could kick in, which makes sense. That is just good business. Now, to that point, and this is where I think the players could very much be miscalculating, is we have things like this I want to run through real quick. The face of the league and the Las Vegas Aces, and again, they're on a big time roll. Let's not forget, what is it, 11 straight, 12 straight? And the Atlanta Dream, another top team in the league with Ryan Howard, on 8/19 on NBA TV, they did a whopping 166,000 viewers. This is unrivaled stuff. This is unrivaled stuff, folks. That is a terrible number. Face of the league. Oh, but how about the next week when the face of the league, again, the Atlanta Dream on 8/27, a whopping 216,000 viewers. Again, an absolutely terrible, terrible number. What about some others? Hey, have you noticed, by the way, that ratings aren't front and center like they used to be last year? We're not, it's a lot harder to find them. They're not being put out there for us. Now, I do want to include a Fever Sun game in the WNBA. Obviously, Caitlin Clark not playing, but the Fever's still getting a boost because of Caitlin Clark fans. But even that on NBA TV, 440,000 viewers. And you would think, I believe this was the game, correct me if I'm wrong, this is 8/17. I believe this was the game after right? I believe this was the game after the brouhaha, so it should have a pretty good number. I think the Fever drew, I can't remember the average, but I know they drew at least a few games of 600 and some thousand on NBA TV. And then you have look at the follow-up, folks. Yeah, it was a doubleheader with a Fever lead-in Dream Valkyries. So you have a top team and the Golden Child expansion club with Kate Martin, 160,000 viewers. This is a terrible number. But wait, there's more. I think this might be the game I already cited. Now, this is Lynx Liberty, two top teams, the two teams that played in the final last year. They must have kicked some butt. 240,000 viewers. I got one more for you, I think. Monday, 8:25. So this was recent. Aces Sky, again, face of the league. Angel Reese. I believe this was the Candace Parker retirement jersey. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 230,000 viewers. Now, I don't want to cherry pick. These are the ones I could find going back a couple of weeks. Now, to be fair, I did also see where ABC games finished higher than last year, which made it its most watched WNBA season ever. Now, believe it or not, even with Caitlin Clark injuries, they still showed more Caitlin Clark playing games with Caitlin Clark. They had 2 last year. They had 5 this year. Caitlin for the Fever. Caitlin played in 3 of them, so that's still more Caitlin Clark games than last year. So obviously that had an impact, and we know from early on that Caitlin Clark's games were drawing more than they were last year. So over 12 games, ABC finished with 1.43 million viewers per game, which is up 13% from last year's 1.26 million over 8 games. And it is, like I said, the most watched WNBA season yet. But again, 3 games from Caitlin Clark this year, 2 from Caitlin Clark last year. And let me see if I have the numbers, just so you know. The 3 Clark games were the most watched of the season for ABC. Of course, of the 13 games, the 3 with Clark. Now, they had the opening weekend matchup against the Sky and Angel Reese, so you know that was going to be huge. That drew 2.7 million, right? So that's almost double what the what ABC averaged. And when you're talking about only 13 games, that's a big slant in their favor. And by the way, all 3 of the games in which Caitlin Clark played did over 2 million. There was a June meeting with the Liberty that was 2.2 million, a July matchup with the Wings and Paige Beckers 2.1 million. ABC has 3 of the top 4 WNBA audiences. The other one, shocking, Liberty Fever, which was on CBS, which was 2.2 million. So look, and just to close with the unrivaled stuff, because we're hearing here, first of all, Nafisa Collier and Breanna Stewart should have absolutely nothing to do with the WNBA negotiations for the CBA. Yes, it absolutely is a conflict of interest. The WNBA should not be allowing players that play in its league to have an ownership in a competing league. Yes, that's what it is. It may be starting small. It may be starting with 3v3, but they already talked last year about plans to expand and maybe move to other cities and this and that. And then that is how you can build a league. That being said, for those thinking they can squeeze the WNBA and keep talking about Unrivaled, Unrivaled had 6 teams. It had 36 players. Now, because of injuries, more than 36 played, but we have well, right now a 13-team league with 12 per team. So that's 156 players. 2 new teams next year adds another 24. Plus rosters might get bigger depending on the CBA. So you're talking about maybe 5 times as many players than what Unrivaled was able to have last year. Okay, so like most of the players that Collier and Stewart are negotiating for are not going to be part of Unrivaled. So absolutely that nonsense has got to stop. WNBA's got to put their foot down and say, look, man, this is getting ridiculous. But also the players need to. I don't know if they have something in their rules where they can be like, hey, you know what? We need to call a meeting, have a vote, and replace Stewart and Collier. They should have nothing to do with the CBA. But that is what is in the best interest of the players, not allowing Collier and Stewart to continue this. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Appreciate you checking out this video. As always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Really do appreciate it. Go have the day you deserve. I'll talk to you in the next video.